Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I already have my guest seated here, and with me in the studio is Mr. Godson Okoye, who is the National Chairman of UDP and National Secretary, Coalition for New Nigeria. You're welcome to the program, sir.
And a former presidential candidate.
And a former presidential candidate. My apologies for leaving that out. I also have with me Mr. Jeff Ojinika, who is the National Chairman, Coalition for Change. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Now, you have heard some of the accusations. Let's start with the latest accusations against INEC. I mean, before we come to the preparations of INEC so far, and whether or not you're impressed as a member of a political party and as someone who's observing the process with the preparations of the electoral body. But let's first start with your reactions to the latest accusations against INEC, especially with the employment of ad hoc staff. A lot of people, some political parties have said they're not very confident with the way INEC is going about employing members for the ad hoc preparations. What do you think, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the nice question. You see, as a stakeholder in the process, one is uncomfortable by what is going on. And we're uncomfortable for a number of reasons. One, we've not been able to solve the issue of the guidelines. And now INEC has gone on to start training. In fact, to employ people, on what basis, how many people they're employing, we do not know. How the criteria for employing those people, we do not know. These are things that if it is supposed to be done on a neutral basis and for the interest of the country, INEC should be able to say, call political parties who are the primary stakeholders in this. We will need 10,000, for instance, or 5,000 ad hoc staff, and this is the criteria. These are the class of people we will need, and this is how we pick them from every state. But having said that, they have continued with their training. They have done the training, trained the trainee for party agents based on a wrong guideline and manual.
Well,
like we keep saying.
It's wrong. I mean, we'll come to the issue of employment.
We'll come to the guideline, but for as it is,
yes,
the criteria for employing those people, how many they're employing, where they're deploying them, where they pick them from, and that's what leaves room for suspicion by others. Who would say, okay, people that are in different places that have a lot of a pool of cash or a pool of people, who send it to INEC and say, okay, put this people there. We have seen a whole lot of these things play out, but what it also shows and what it proves fundamentally is what we have said at different times. INEC should either be expanded or unbundled. Expand INEC, because every time you want election, you bring in about 5,000 staff or you bring in 2,000 people, you call out, it all shows you that you are working with inadequate number of people. Therefore, expand it.
My apologies to you. Let me quickly take the reaction of Mr. Ojinika on this. What do you think? I mean, what is your reaction to the accusations that INEC is not prepared?
I think there's a very fundamental issue here. And that fundamental issue is there seems to be a lot of opacity in the activities of INEC, and it doesn't make for a very credible process.
Why do you say so? I mean, what exactly is opaque?
I speak as the Deputy National Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council. By virtue of that position, I'm privileged not to have information as to the guideline for the recruitment of the ad hoc staff. We remember that when they released the guideline, we raised about 10 issues, and one of them was the issue of the ad hoc staff. We did mention then that we learned from papers that they were trying to recruit people who were not members of the NYSC. It was one of the issues we raised, and definitely they didn't get to reply us, but in an informal discussion, they informed us that they were not going to recruit, that it was fake news. But ever since then, we expected the chairman and members of the commission to brief us on a very routine basis in terms of what are the guidelines, in such a way that if there's any violation of the guideline, we should be able to know. It heightens the fears of, it was only the brief of the National Commissioner, Festus Okoye, that we got to learn that there are issues between the state branches of in INEC and the federal in terms of who will recruit which level of staff. That also, heightens a lot of anxiety in the sense that, moving away from decentralization to, centering it at one point. What is the reason for the National Office of INEC now wanting to centralize the power of recruitment of collation officers at the local government, at the federal constituency, senatorial, and at the state level? Nobody knows what informed that. And the whole thing is within the realm of suspicion. And if that is the case,
yes.
If this election fails, we will blame it mainly on the INEC chairman for his inability
Let me get
to carry the stakeholders and brief them accordingly, because we need to know, and at each point, we should be able to make contributions. Like they listed 4 criteria for this
let me interrupt you a bit. I mean, you said that INEC is carried on in a very opaque manner. That's your accusation. You say that is one of the things that you see is decentralization or the centralization of the employment process. Some people will say, isn't that to safeguard the process? Because we've also seen accusations from times past of people, a political party which is strong in one area dominating in terms of maybe employment, so to speak, or, making accusations of employment, or opposition political parties saying that other people have employed these people and have influenced INEC at the local level. Isn't it to safeguard the process and remove those accusations that INEC is centralizing the process?
Yes, every coin has 2 sides. Mm-hmm. There must be a reason of what informed that. But, in politics, once you have a surprise element, as a politician, you get worried. Mm-hmm. As political leaders, we need to be informed as to what is the basis for this change of policy. Mm-hmm. If there's a change of policy, I'm not against their changing the policy from decentralization to concentration of powers at the center. I'm not against it. But we need to know what has informed that. Mm. And we also need to be assured that it is not a way of putting a one-way traffic for people who remote control elections.
I get you on that point. But let us also take the accusation you talked about, INEC not employing NYC people, NYC core members rather. You say that you read somewhere, but that you had informal discussions with INEC officials as well. Does it not mean that INEC is willing to communicate and communicate as often as it can through formal and informal channels?
Right now, we expect the INEC to be on constant consultation and constant dialogue with the political parties. You don't expect to shave somebody's hair in the person's absence. We hope that at any step they take, they should involve the political parties so that you'll be rest assured that what they're doing is in the best interest of all. For instance, if we see the guideline for this recruitment, we want to make sure that the process is open and transparent in such a way that if there's any violation of that guideline, you should be able to point out. Like I read yesterday from Festus Okoye that they listed 4 criteria that people will meet for this ad hoc staff. One of them is that you will not have expressed interest in a particular candidate or in a political party. You will be an apolitical person, and then you will also swear an oath. That oath issue is something that we need to take very seriously, because right now the president refused to assent to the electoral bill, which would have provided penalties for any of these ad hoc staff that engages in electoral malpractice. So the only way now to hold them is to make sure that we draft a very serious oath that these people will take, and if this violation will amount to somebody being arraigned in the court, it has to be taken very serious. So the issue of this ad hoc thing has to be taken very serious. It's not something that INEC will go in on their own and fashion out. And also, right now, there are a lot of oppositions here and there